Oh, hello, great readers. I'm Belchan.
I'm Nimakong.
I'm Banchan.
In this class, I'll read to all of you a part of Great Expectations.
As.
Great Expectations. Charles Dickens. Club 8-2. In an armchair, with an elbow resting on the table and her head leaning on that hand, sat the strangest lady I have ever seen, or shall ever see. She was dressed in rich material satins, and lace, and silk soil of white. Her shoes were white, and she had a long white veil dependent from her hair, and she had bridal flowers in her hair, but her hair was white. Some bright jewels sparkled on her neck and on her hands, and some other jewels lay sparkling on the table. Dresses, less splendid than the dress she wore, and half-back trunks, were scattered about. She had not quite finished dressing. Veil was but half arranged. Her watch and chain were not put on, and some lace for her bosom lay with those trinkets, and with her handkerchief, and gloves, and some flowers, and a prayer book all confusedly heaped about the looking glass. It was not in the first few moments that I saw all these things, though I saw more of them in the first moments than might be supposed. But I saw that everything within my view which ought to be white had been white long ago, and had lost its lustre and was faded and yellow. I saw that the bride within the bridal dress had withered like the dress, and like the flowers, and had no brightness left but the brightness of her sunken eyes. One. Fun. On. I had been taken to see some ghastly waxwork at the fair, representing I know not what impossible personage lying in state on under the church pavement. Fan. Waxwork and skeleton seemed to have dark eyes that moved and looked at me. I should have cried out if I could. Who is it? Said the lady at the table. In. Wistu. Umblicksboy. An. Come nearer. Let me look at you. It was when I stood before her, avoiding her eyes, that I took note of the surrounding objects in detail, and saw that her watch had stopped at 20 minutes to 9, and that a clock in the room had stopped at 20 minutes to 9. Look at me, said Miss Evesham. Do you know what I touch here? She said, laying her hands, one upon the other, on her left side. Is. She uttered the word with an eager look, and with strong emphasis, and with a weird smile that had a kind of boast in it. Afterwards she kept her hands there for a little while, and slowly took them away as if they were heavy. I am tired, said Miss Evesham. I want diversion, and I have done with men and women. I think it will be conceded by my most disputatious reader, what more difficult to be done under the circumstances. I sometimes have sick fancies, she went on, and I have a sick fancy that I want to see some play. There, with an impatient movement of the fingers of her right hand. Play. Play. For a moment, with the fear of my sisters working before my eyes. Wiste. Public chase cart. But I felt myself so unequal to the performance that I gave it up. Mana. Nisbash, she said. When we had taken a good look at each other. I am very sorry for you. And very sorry I can't play just now. If you complain of me, I shall get into trouble with my sister. So I would do it if I could. But it's so new here. And so strange. And so fringe and melancholy. I stopped, fearing I might say too much. Or had already said it. And we took another look at each other. Before she spoke again. She turned her eyes from me and looked at the dress she wore and at the dressing table and finally at herself in the looking glass. So new to him, she muttered. So old to me. So strange to him. So familiar to me. So melancholy to both of us. As she was still looking at the reflection of herself, I thought she was still talking to herself, and kept quiet. Cola Stella, she repeated, flashing a look at me. You can do that. Cola Stella. To stand in the dark in a mysterious passage of an unknown house, holding a Stella to a scornful young lady neither visible nor responsive, and feeling it a dreadful liberty so to roar out her name, was almost as bad as playing to order. But she answered at last, and her light came along the dark passage like a star. Miss Havisham beckoned her to come close, and took up a jewel from the table, and tried its effect upon her fair young bosom and against her pretty brown hair. Grown. One day, my dear, and you will use it well. With this boy, I thought I overheard Miss Havisham answer, for it seemed so unlikely. Well, what do you play? By asked her still of myself, with the greatest disdain. Nothing but bigger, my neighbour. Bigger, said Miss Havisham to Stella. So we sat down to cards. It was then I began to understand that everything in the room had stopped. Like the watch and the clock. A long time ago. She had taken it up, as Stella dealt the cards. I glanced at the dressing table again, and saw that the shoe upon it, once white, now yellow, had never been worn. I glanced down at the foot from which the shoe was absent, and saw that the silk stocking on it, once white, now yellow, had been trodden ragged. Without this rest of everything, this standing still of all the delicate objects, grave clothes, or the long veil still like a shroud. So she sat, corpse-like, as we played at cards. The frillings and trimmings on her bridal dress, looking like earthy paper, ancient times, which put a powder in the moment of being distinctly seen. But I have often thought since, would have struck her to dust. He calls knaves jacks. This boy, said Estella with disdain, before our first game was out. And what coarse sense he has. I had never thought of being ashamed of my hands before. but I began to consider them a very indifferent pair. Her contempt for me was so strong that it became infectious, and I caught it. She won the game, and I dealt. I misdealt, as was only natural, when I knew she was lying in wait for me to do wrong, and she denounced me for a stupid, clumsy, lubbering boy. "He say nothing of her," remarked Miss Havisham to me, as she looked on. "She says many hard things of you, but you say nothing of her." "I don't like to say," I stammered. "Tell me in my ear," said Miss Havisham, bending down. "I think she is very proud," I replied, in a whisper, "and never see her again. I am not sure that I shouldn't like to see her again." "You shall go soon," said Miss Havisham, aloud, saving for the one-word smile at first. I should have felt almost sure that Miss Havisham's face could not smile. It had become transfixed, and it looked as if nothing could ever lift it up again. Her chest had dropped, so that she stooped, and her voice had dropped, so that she spoke low, and with the dead lull upon her. Altogether, she had the appearance of having dropped body and soul, within and without, under the weight of a crushing blow. To be continued.